All right, thank you so much here. The program this morning on ITV. Yeah, we are going to be looking at the petroleum industry bill this morning. One bill that for quite some time now, it's been generating reactions and counter-reactions. Perhaps you may want to say that all the hula baloos concerning the petroleum industry bill have finally been laid to rest. I mean, talking about the signage of the president on the bill. But there's also reactions, most especially when we look at the 3% host community fund issue, and also the 30% that has to do with the frontiers on the oil exploration in some northern states of the country. Now, for some people, the president would have held on to sign this bill, while for some, the president perhaps may have just done one of his constitutional responsibilities as a president, as a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, to look at this morning, BUHARI signing the PIB bill into law, and of course concerns over the 3% host communities fund. We're so privileged to have Dr. Mrs. Stella Omonigo, who is a lecturer with the Department of Foreign Languages, University of Benin, and of course she's a public affairs analyst. Madam, you're welcome to this program.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers at home.
Yeah, I know that you are so concerned about the petroleum industry bill. I remember before we got here, when the National Assembly, the Senate to be precise, when they signed the bill into law, you came here and of course you expressed some of your reservations. Now, the bill is now a law. It's no more just a bill anymore. It's now a law as we speak. It shows that anything that has to do with oil exploration and regulating oil in the country today has to be with that bill. So how do you feel about this bill now?
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, when I saw that the bill was signed into law a few days ago, I was shocked. I was shocked because when the bill was prepared, when it was passed in the first place, people expressed concerns about the bill, about the content of the bill. And then different groups came together to put up write-ups, to lay their complaints, to say something about the bill, their displeasure about the bill. I thought that our president, being the president of all and not the president of a particular region of the country, would listen to some of these concerns and see how the bill could be amended before signing it into law. That was what I thought. So all this month, all this while where they were quiet about it, I thought maybe they were reviewing the bill, because when it was passed, people expressed concerns that it wasn't possible for it to be 3% for all, for the host communities. Yeah. In fact, let me tell you, Edwin Clark, for a former senator, actually even gave a template and said host communities should get at least 10%. And even if they cannot give them 10%, they are even talking of 5% that they will be listening to it, but definitely not 3%. And then they went ahead, different groups. We had a group called the Ikwere group or something like that from River State. They brought out a proposal. Different groups, in the southern part of Nigeria, brought out proposals, especially in the host communities, telling the president how it should be, or I felt that they could come to a middle line to align the concerns of the southerners, of the host communities, and then that of the federal government. But I was so shocked that every concern was ignored, and the president went ahead to sign it into law just as the bill was presented. And what came to my mind is how, without missing words, I think that we actually are not sensitive of the peace, the fragile peace in this country. Because if we are sensitive, if our leadership is sensitive of the very fragile, what I mean very fragile, you and I know that it's just a kind of, we are living on a kind of thin line of peace in this country. If they think of it, I don't think they will go ahead to sign that into law. Mr. Evans, I'm afraid that this may not be the end we'll be hearing about this PIB. I don't think it is the end, because since for the past 2 days, let me tell you, for the past 2 days, people have now been, there has been kind of agitation, especially in the host communities. Let me also give a point. when this bill was passed, Southern governors came together and made recommendations. Even if you don't listen to people, you cannot listen to the governors. So nobody has a voice. Then what is the democracy we are talking about in Nigeria if when you talk, especially when you put things into writing, you come together as a group, you make a submission, and the submission is not respected, it's not even looked to at all, it is ignored totally as if these people don't exist. I think it's an aberration. Yeah. I don't think it is nice. And these are the things that may threaten the very tiny peace that we are experiencing in the country right now. These are the things. Let me tell you, as of yesterday, Ijaw boys were already angry. Ijaw boys were already angry concerning the signing of the bill into law.
Yeah, but let us be careful with that because we've not seen the reports in the public space that Ijaw boys were angry. So that
you know the thing, you know the problem we have in this country. The problem we are having in this country, like I always say, is that we are not proactive. Now, things that may threaten, like I was saying, threaten the people are angry, whether it is put on media, whether media accepts it or not. Like I said, we are always living in denial in the country, but these things exist. Are we going to wait until it explodes before we will now start looking into it? People are aggrieved. Host communities are aggrieved. Let me tell you how it is. This is a kind of signing it into law, signing this bill into law is a kind of legal way of robbing host communities of their entitlements.
No, you cannot say so, Dr. Mrs. Stella Monigo, because just this morning I read on one of the major headlines that signing of the PIB into law, Buhari just bowed to majority wish, though that's coming from the presidency.
Very good. Majority wish coming from where? We need to ask questions. Majority wish coming from the host communities, or majority wish coming from those who will benefit from this law, from this bill being signed into law, when they are not host communities or oil producing communities, who actually was putting the pressure on the president to sign that thing into law. Let me tell you, like we said, there should not be partisanship in governance. There shouldn't be. If you want to be a leader to all and not favor some to the detriment of all. Let me tell you, the last time I came here to discuss this issue, we talked about gold being found in Zamfara. Till today, did anybody talk about sharing formula of the profit made from the sales of gold? We saw series of video clips of aircrafts coming into Zamfara and cutting away with some of these things. There is no report, there is no national report, nothing about the exploration of the gold, nothing about the mining of the gold, nothing at all. But everything everything is geared on, the oil producing on the south, the oil producing country, the oil in the country. And this is how I see it. You want to just rub off the south. You want to just rub off the south of everything, they are holding on to, while enriching a particular region in the country. This is unfair. It is unfair, and we need to face it. We need to talk about it. We are not slaves in our country. I'm a Southerner. I'm a proud Southerner, and I feel that one of our major, legacy is this oil. And then now you are telling me that we are to share it, equally with, even they are even benefiting more from us from the second part of the bill.
Yeah, but Dr. Stella Monigo, you must also agree with me that perhaps some persons that are sharing your same opinion now may just be looking at the 3% as a very infinitesimal number. I mean, 3% very small. But they've not actually gone to look at the content of what that 3% is going to give. I've been privileged to see the content, and we understand that it's going to ensure that there's development in these host communities and all that. And of course, asset roads are going to be built, provision of pipe-borne waters. Yes. I think we should also begin to look at the content of the 3%, for host communities fund, rather than just trying to look at the 3% as a very small unit as a number.
Thank you so much. Incidentally, I have a copy of the 3% here.
Okay, the content.
I have the content here, yes, of the 3%. And the first one is create efficient and effective governing institutions with clear and separate roles for the petroleum industry. The second one is establishing a framework. Look, all these things are put on paper. There have been things put on paper in Nigeria. How many of them in leadership actually read? You know, let me tell you this. We like it or not, we take it or not. These people are thinking that Nigerians are illiterate. These people have taken it for granted that Nigerians do not read, they don't like to read, they just want action.
When you say
let me tell you,
I think will it
be put
which people are you referring to now when you say these people?
I'm talking about the leadership.
Yeah, they are Nigerians, so we are all Nigerians.
I'm talking about the leadership without apology. That they feel that they are dealing with fools that we don't know what we are doing.
That may not be
now,
correct.
Let me tell you, they put it into writing.
In the country, Dr. Mrs.
Thank you. That's okay. It's taken, but it's not. But let me tell you, they put it into writing. But to what extent can this be implemented? To what extent can they respect this same thing that they signed themselves? We have had instances in this country where the leadership of this country will sign an agreement, an MOA, an MOU, and people keep on coming back to it years after years because those things were not implemented.
Yeah, perhaps people
now, let me tell you,
yeah.
it is very beautiful to see all the things itemized in the content of this 3%, the content of this 3% that had been signed into law for all host communities. Very beautiful. But let me tell you, it's time will tell. We will come back to this studio to come and analyze it, whether these things have been put in place or not. What 5% could not do in the past, you are talking about 3% doing it, when now everybody, let me see, I see it now as everybody scavenging for the southern oil. That is how I see it. Everybody, every part of Nigeria, especially from the most privileged part of the country where the presidency comes from, they are now scavenging for our own rights.
Yeah, Dr. Mrs.
Now, how many of us, sir, please, let us get things in perspective. NNPC Directorate, who is the leader? Is it a Southerner?
No, that's not the issue now.
No, let's go. No, we have come to that point because I can see that these laws that are being signed each day are favoring a particular region in the country. Look, Mr. Evans, I know that you are trying to protect the media, but
no,
these things are there.
I'm not protecting the media.
I'm
just
in black and white, sir. These things are there in black and white. Look at it. We are the oil-producing communities. None of us is in the directorate of this industry. We are the ones producing the oil.
Do we have Nigerians there?
Do we have Southerners there? Do we have Southerners there? Meanwhile, you are coming to explore all in my place, and then I'm not in leadership. And that is why the law could go so fast. That is why the bill could go so fast. Now, because our people are not well represented there, where they are supposed to be. And then, when they get in fact, everything about the profit being made is not being opened to the other side. Very beautiful. Now, the question I'm trying to, before I lose my line of thought, the question I'm trying to ask now is, how many of us, how many Southerners, how many Westerners, how many Easterners are in position of the directorate of this Zamfara gold? How many? Have you tried to ask? Do you know that this Zamfara gold is being protected? Nobody knows anything about it, the mining. Nobody knows anything about the exportation. Nobody knows anything about the foreign currency being made out of that gold. Gold sells much now. In fact, let me tell you, the world is not looking at only oil. The world is looking at agriculture, at everything that can give resources, especially gold. Okay. Now let us look at because there's a part of it that we probably are not also looking. We understand that 30% is going to be is already in the law, in the bill. It's supposed to go for the oil exploration frontiers in the some parts of north, some parts of states in the north. Now, the beauty of it all is that we are still talking about Nigeria here. I think for us, we should begin to look at it as a more a Nigerian thing, rather than trying to segregate that this is for North, this is for East, and this is for South, and all that. So when 30% eventually goes to some states in the North for oil frontiers and all that, developing oil frontiers and all that, we're still talking about Nigeria as a country. You see, that's why I said the 3% is not even the major thing. We're still talking about this 30%. By the time you add everything together, it will be like 48% for states that are not producing oil, that for communities that are not producing oil. Let me tell you. We also need to define what the federal government, the federal government's definition of oil, of host communities. Now, against the backdrop of what we had on ground before, that host communities were places, communities where oil, was found and being exploited. Now, it is wherever oil pipeline passes. Did you see that in the law? It's in the law. Nigerians, the new law is that a host community is wherever oil pipeline passes through. And don't forget that most of the oil, we are exploring in the south is being taken to so many regions in the country, especially the north, where there is no oil, so that it could circulate. So now,
but have you also taken into
hold on.
Some of the dangers?
Hold on. I'm not even talking about only the. I'm talking about places all over the country where originally oil was not found, but pipeline passes through it now. So what happens is that you now rub off the people. They did not. What pained me about the bill is that they did not give any special concession, no incentive to communities where oil was found.
No, you cannot say so.
It is there in the bill.
You mentioned the 3%. You mentioned the 3%. The 3% for host community funds.
That's what I'm saying. The definition of our government, our leadership, host community now, it's no longer where oil was found.
No, you can't. I think it's part of it. The host communities where oil is being found is part of it. Then if you say where pipeline passes,
I don't know what you are trying to defend here, because it is very clear, even to the whole world, that the law is divisive already.
Well, that may be your opinion, because some persons may not look at it that way.
And very conspicuous. Even to the blind man, you see that the law is already divisive, whether we like it or not. I was just trying to tell you, our own definition of host communities, which had been what had been on ground for so many years. But the 2021 definition of host communities in this bill that they are trying to pass, so that it will favor them. So apart from the 3%, there's another 30% that goes for them, for the frontier community, a lot of things. And then at the end of the day, what came to my mind is, out of the profit that will be made from this oil exploration, what exactly is the gain of the communities where this oil is found, communities where basic amenities are still lacking, communities where feeding is difficult because of the agricultural system and the ecosystem is destroyed because of the oil exploration in their communities. Let me give an example of Otweke. Otweke, for example, in Bayelsa. I know, at least I've been there before. Nembe in Bayelsa. These are places where oil is found every day and is being explored every day. But what are these communities are in deplorable conditions. They are there. People are shying away from it. You can hardly find good roads to these places. It is only where the vehicle will pass that you see this. You see a little or a tiny road. Basic amenities are lacking in this place. So the question is, after this sharing formula that the law has proposed, then what is left for people who are on a daily basis suffering from oil exploration in their communities? Okay, but
we also need to know that, just trying to go through what Garba Shehu said this morning concerning that this law was actually signed as a result of public cry by the presidency. Now, Garba Shehu has said that we should also know that this law is still subject to amendment. So I think we should begin to cushion, if you like now, some of the feelings that we have against this law.
Yes.
So it's still subject to amendment.
I hope so. I hope so, because once something is signed into law, like I said, it's almost difficult. If you remember, the last time we discussed this here, when we're challenging our senator, the southern senator, we said we should act now, because once it is signed into law, it is not difficult to start, thinking of amending it. I just remembered now, a part of this law, a part of the bill was talking about vandalism and civil unrest in host communities.
Yeah.
And then it went on to say that they will pay compensation and be responsible for any form of pipeline vandalism and civil unrest. You know what came to my mind? a community that has not been defined, that has not been favorably defined as a host community, whereas it's not really a host community. But because pipeline passes through that community, may decide to go on busting pipeline on a daily basis, knowing fully well that the law had made provision that they will take care of costs of repairs and of civil unrest in that community.
Yeah.
Now, it further goes to rob off the main host communities of the development fund.
When you say the main host, it's like
the main host communities.
Okay, but
Nigeria,
for the fact that
the main
pipeline
host communities are the places where oil is found.
Okay, so if a pipeline passes through your own community, it's not a host community.
It's not supposed to be a host community.
But does it not host the oil? It's part of the oil. It's part of it, don't you think
Nigeria.
so? Don't you think
Nigeria.
so? Anyway, but there's something we also
Look,
need to...
let me tell you, I built a house.
Yeah.
And I brought in tenants. Bringing in tenants into my house does not make my tenants the owners of my house.
Yeah, but that analogy does not apply.
It is so.
But let us also look at it, Dr. Stella Omonigo, because it appears we are quick to forget. Now, we are talking about a bill, you know, that has this almost about 20 years down the time now, since this whole agitation started that there must be a petroleum industry bill, and eventually we have the bill being passed into law. I think we need to commend efforts, first and foremost, Doctor. We have to.
Okay, I want to remind us of the last time we discussed this thing. What we're talking about, there had been a call for petroleum industry bill. Yes, I agree. But how come all of a sudden, in the midst of unrest, in the midst of insecurity, in the midst of, look, let me tell you, people were slain in Jos.
Okay, are you saying that there would have been a better time for this bill to have been passed?
And then to look at it holistically. Then when they brought up the matter of PIB about 2 months ago, I recalled, I said, some persons have interest. That was why they suddenly resuscitated the need for a PIB. Do you understand? And then we argued it and everything. Then they brought the bill. When we saw the content of the bill, it was very obvious that our assumption about people having personal interest, came into play. And this is how I saw it. Maybe some persons, know that they will soon maybe go into retirement or go for retirement. They needed to take a part of the national cake, and to take it legally, it has to be signed into law. These are the things we should look into.
Yeah, but again, you should
but
also...
it's so unfortunate that this long-awaited bill now came. It was not a kind of, let me still use the word divisive, in the sense that it did not really capture the interest of the oil producing, let me use that word, the oil producing states, communities.
Yeah.
Rather, it's now, they're trying to say, okay, that now let us make it profitable to all Nigerians because it is our national treasure. Well, it's okay. But even at that, do you know that consensus will have been given to the oil producing community? Let me tell you, if they are thinking of any form of amendment, this is what I think should be done. In as much that they have their personal interests, you cannot just rob somebody totally of his belonging. At least you just create, make out a caveat, something that we at least favor the people who are suffering directly from this oil exploration. That's my own point of view.
And I think that may be done, because just like what Garba Shehu said, that the bill is open for amendment. So I think it now behoves on all of us, most especially for people that are aggrieved now, to begin to talk to their senators. Like Dr. Mr. Stella Omonigo, you can begin to talk to your senator in your states, in Delta State, that look, you need to go back and ensure that you do the needful. But again, where is this going to take us to? I mean, because that probably may set another round of time, and it's going to be a wastage of time. Remember, some of, like you tried to talk about earlier, some of the issues we've been facing, it all borders on resource control. And for the presidency, this is perhaps one of the attempts that our resources can begin to, that people can begin to have control over their resources. So if we say that this bill is subject to amendment, don't you think we're going to waste more time for us to bring it back?
I don't feel it's a political statement. Because why amend? Why talk about amend when people had already raised concerns, issues about the bill before it was signed, months before it was signed into law.
Yeah, but it's not the first time. It's not the first time. It's not the first time we're going to be having a bill being amended.
Immediately the bill was passed and people shouted and people raised concerns. Even governors forum, if they could not respect governors forum, certain governors forums concern, who will they listen to? Edwin Clark is an elder statesman in this country. He has paid his dues in this country. He spoke and spoke and spoke concerning the bill. Nobody listened to him. Is it now after signing it into law they're not saying that you should come and amend it? You see, the country we are in is supposed to be a democratic country. You cannot call Nigeria a democratic country. When people talk, you don't listen to feedback, you don't listen to their pains, you force things on us, you force laws on us, and you not be making us to come and be begging. We are the oil producing communities. We are the oil producing states. We start as if we are begging for our own property.
Okay.
You know, there has been speculations right from time that the riches, the wealth of the South is being used to develop the North.
That may not be true, except if you say that there are speculations. I'll leave it there. But again, let us also begin to look at the political issue that is somehow connected to this bill. The PDP, that's the People's Democratic Party, reacted this morning and said that the signing of the bill into law is not democratic, just like what you are trying to say.
Yes.
But again, somebody also fired back and said that that was a bill that saw all the 16 years of PDP in power. And of course, the PDP never did anything about that bill. So the politics in this whole thing, playing politics with our laws now, with our abuse and all that, where do you think it's going to get us to? Because as a matter of fact, the PDP was there for 16 years. The petroleum industry bill became an issue and we never saw the light of it. Now we have the All Progressives Congress. 8 years down the line, we have a bill.
You see, it's so unfortunate that we are where we are in Nigeria now. But let me tell you something. And it's so unfortunate that our politicians are playing with the lives, the resources, and the happiness of Nigerians, with all these accusations and counter-accusations. Yeah. I agree with you that the issue of the PIB law had started in PDP time. Yeah. But the thing is this. When that person replied, what came to my mind was the content same? No. And when they set up a committee, to kind of construct to set up a bill. Yeah. There were some persons who frustrated the committees were set up twice or three times concerning this bill. There were some people who made sure that those committees never saw the light of day, that they never came out with anything tangible. Now, even the draft they had, unfortunately, we may not have access to it now. They were not the same content at all.
Yeah, it's
membership
normal.
of the committee represented.
I've not been in the legislature.
The membership of the committee to draft the bill, had so many representatives of the South. But this new one that came in, that was not signed into law, how many Southerners were there? And like we said the other time,
in the committee.
Yes, in the committee. And when it was, we also told you that time that those Southerners that were there, especially the Southern senators, that were they sleeping? What were they doing when this bill was being constructed and to be passed? We said it. Yeah. And then people called out on some of these our Southern senators to say, if you collected money from anybody, go and return it, because we are not going to sell the birthright of the South, and everything. We thought that with all those hula baloo, with all those concerns that were raised, that people will go back and say, okay, what is this thing that is, that is not said, that is displeasing the South, the host, the oil producing community. Let's even listen to them. No, you did not listen to them. That is why people are saying that it is not democratic at all. And I stand to be quoted anywhere in the world. This bill being signed into law, it is not a representation, and it is not a picture of the democracy that that I think we are supposed to be operating in Nigeria.
And of course, we also need to emphasize the fact that the bill is subject to amendment. The presidency has said so.
But why wait to amend it? Why didn't you amend it when people raised issues earlier? Because let me tell you, the issues we are talking about now were the same issues we raised in the past. So why did you not amend it before signing it into law?
When the amendment comes, it's possible that some other issues will come up. And it's possible that some more content may be added. And it's also possible that it's 3% we are talking about.
We have been with that petroleum industry bill for so many years, for almost 20 years. And we did not go into bankruptcy in Nigeria. Why is it that is now that is so much in a hurry, you know, to be signed into law, even when people raise issues, especially the oil-producing communities?
All right, Dr. Mrs. Stella Omonigo, a very big thank you. Always there, explosive to talk about issues. Now, the official signage is going to be today. Remember, we had the one that the president did on Monday or thereabouts. He's been in isolation now. He just returned from UK recently, and by doctor's advice, he had to be isolated. So that was when the bill was signed. But we're told that officially he's going to be signing that bill into law by today. That's Wednesday, the 18th day of August, 2021. Now, Dr. Stella Omonigo, I hope that the next time we'll come to talk about this issue, the amendments would have started.
Well, I hope so, but I just want to use the opportunity to call out on all Southern senators. We voted you there. We did not send you there to represent your own personal interests. All Southern senators, listen to Southerners. You are there to represent the interests of the South and not sleep. If you check the National Assembly, the northern senators do not rest. Every day they come forward to defend the cause of the North. What are you people doing there? If you are not ready to defend our cause, please come back home and let us send other representatives.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Mrs. Stella Omonigo. The program is still here this morning on ITV. A very big thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.